All right, guys, live again. Wax Talk with Short Men, episode 4 or 5. Twice in a week, though, Eddie. Look at how privileged you are. So you made fun of me last time for my lack of work ethic. So I decided to come back. Full disclaimer, though. I broke 4 jerseys yesterday, Leaf jerseys, 1 box of Pristine, 1 box of Jumbo Update Chrome. Literally sliced my finger so bad, though, opening a box like a child. It is the epitome of just cutting your finger on camera is as bad as screaming about a $2 hit.
Worse
It is
in my
as bad
mind.
as saying I'm shaking when I pull a Nolan Arenado jersey card.
So when it says PSA DNA, it shouldn't say PSA Mike's DNA.
Well, here was the perfect thing. It was an O.J. Simpson jersey, so I was like, well, not the only blood on that
wow.
thing.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, yeah, I was about to say, there's going to be a few people's probably blood on that.
Oh, yeah, not just ours.
Oh.
So anyways, So yeah, this week, guys, got a new episode. Obviously, Adam is here. Adam is kind of our draft guru, kind of breaking down brand new 2023 Bowman Draft, which comes out, 3 weeks, basically 3 weeks from today. We'll talk about that. Kind of a little bit of it's funny. I didn't do any 22 draft, actually. That was the first year. Eddie just was like fully running and doing everything on his own, like completely. I did some 21, but no 22. So we can kind of break down the price of that too. So, and then the only review, I guess we can just do this real quick at the start. We didn't break any Topps Museum yet because we didn't fill it because it was kind of a slow day at the office with the holidays. So have you seen, either of you guys seen any actual museum breaks?
No, not yet.
I watched a couple, so I took advantage of the slow day and went fishing the other day when we were filling it. And I watched a few of the breaks, and it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's either going to be hit or miss. It's a full case product, like that's why I'm trying to push that full case. Like 2 boxes at a time on that stuff is going to be brutal.
Yeah, like, there's case hits and it's over.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yep. So even if it takes us a little longer to fill the breaks, I'm still going to keep pushing the full case stuff because it's where the value is. And
I did see one of the most ridiculous Frank Thomas cards yesterday. They're doing they brought back the full, like the entire card is a full patch. Majestic game used.
That's nice.
I do like some of that.
They have some nasty stuff in there, though.
They really do. I will say I get irritated by a $450 box that has sticker autos. My only complaint.
I noticed that as well too. That's such a turnoff. I mean, if you're gonna, I understand it if it's a cheaper product and you're saving time, you're saving money, but especially for someone like that, there's really honestly, there's no excuse for it. But
yeah, that was kind of where I was at. So slow release this week though. I don't think there's anything unless I'm missing something. I think it is a totally release-free week for baseball. There's a bunch of other stuff that we just don't care about. Leaf Ultimate Soccer is the 29th. Chronicles Racing is the 29th. There's a WWE product on the 29th. There's Star Wars on the 29th. And I guess the only other thing we may do some of is Donruss football on the 1st. But again, very, very disinterested. But so I figured it was kind of Eddie's idea too. Let's talk some draft. Give guys a couple weeks to catch up. I don't know whose name this is because it doesn't show. This has to be Shones, though. Has to be Matty Shones. Finest Cosmic Chrome Gilded Dynasty. Don't at me, bros.
Bros. Too late, Matty.
100% Matt Shones.
I hope that's Matt.
I'm adding him. I hope it is too.
Just ban him. Just ban him for 24 hours.
Yeah, we'll give you.
So I know nothing about draft. I don't do any research anymore because I'm lazy at this point. We kind of have Adam and other guys helping. Eddie does.
Exactly.
So the first thing that popped, 2 things that maybe you can kind of react and give us an overview and then break down some player stuff, Adam. Number one, it's only like 100 autos now, which seems way, way smaller than it is. That seemed like a good thing. Number 2, again, layman, last year's pricing is $5,600 for Jumbo. This year, it's $4,300 or $4,400. So either one of those you want to go with, I'm curious to get your thoughts.
So I'll start with the second one about the pricing. I think that's actually really both is beneficial. I think that, although, and here's the other positive thing too, is that I do feel like in this year's product, while there isn't necessarily the 3 or 4 or the 4 big names, there's like a really strong middle class, if that makes sense. Like the middle half, like the teams from like spot 7 to, we'll call it 7 to 15 or 7 to like 18 are going to have a really good hit. Which I think based on the pricing is going to be really good for people because while there's going to be really, for the most part, 2 really, really big names at the top of the hit list. I mean, if you want to include Skeens as a pitcher, Paul Skeens, who went number 1 overall, I mean, I'm not as inclined to do that because pitchers are so volatile and it's a pitcher. But, you know, if you look at it, there's only really right now 2 really elite guys, or 2 guys at the top part, which are going to be the most expensive teams. But there's a really strong middle class. So having that price come in a little bit lower, I think is very beneficial. Second thing about the auto checklist, I think it's a double-edged sword. It's good and it's bad. It's good because, you know, your chance of getting a better player are going to be higher. It's a little bit bad because, you know, when looking at the checklist this year, there's a couple of guys' names that I thought would be there and I was hoping would be there that did end up being on the checklist. So I think what that means is in the future, if you want to come back and do a Bowman one, I think Bowman 2024 is going to be incredibly loaded. I was expecting draft to be a little bit more loaded. It's still incredibly strong, but because of the shorter checklist, I just wonder if they pushed a few of the bigger names I was expecting to see, at least one of the names I should say I was expecting to see, just down the line a little bit.
Do you have any idea, too? I always ask this. I never actually do the research. Do you know how many top 100 guys are in this product this year?
I want to say there's at least 3. I want to say I have to go back and check. There's at least 3. Like off the top of my head, I know that Max Clark from the Tigers is a top 100 guy, and obviously Skeen's another top 100 guy.
Oh, I did see Clark. Clark was like the 3rd pick, right?
Yeah, Clark was 3rd overall to Detroit. Okay. So he's on the list. I know there are other guys that were drafted that are in the top 100, like Kyle Teal. Like for me, obviously Red Sox homer. I was hoping to see Kyle Teal's name on the list, and it wasn't. So that was a bummer for me. But just that's more of a homer pick. But there are a few other guys that did crack the top 100 that I don't think are in the product. It's not to say though. Here's the thing about this draft, this past year's draft, is that this was a very, very loaded draft. So even if a guy did make the top 100 this year, there's a very good chance that between, you know, how he plays and who graduates, that guy could end up on the list next year. So off the top of my head, like I said, I want to say about 3 or so. And for sure, Clark, I think he's a top 20 or 25 guy. I'll have to go back and look.
Nice.
Yeah.
Eddie, do you know anything about this product yet? Like I said, I have not even started looking at it.
I started looking at just checklist. It looks like there's a few new inserts, which, you know, kind of in line with what Fanatics has done with all these last, you know, handful of products. The inserts look nice. Like the inserts actually look nice. You know what I mean? I can't say I haven't seen them in my hands yet, but from the imaging, they look nice. The second thing I wanted to mention though is the pricing, and that not having 5 big chases at the top, but having a bunch of spread out kind of, you know, 8 through 15 chases. It's really helpful for us pricing wise, not only because you're not going to have 4 teams holding up 35 or 40% of the price of the case, but also you're adding a Brady chase into it this year, right? And
correct.
Yes, it's a chase. Yes, it's a lottery ticket shot. But Mike, I'm going to make an executive decision. We are going to give away the Brady spot in every one of our draft breaks.
Oh wow! Okay, we're going to do a specific Brady spot for that. Then I was wondering if you're going to lump him with the
just a Brady spot, because his base card, and the auto are the only 2 cards in there for him.
Does he have color, Eddie, of his base?
Of his base, but
that's going to be huge money, by the way.
Absolutely, it is. But at the price that these cases are coming out at, and the price that we know that we're paying, I do not see a value in charging for that Brady spot when we can spread it out amongst 14 other teams and give everybody that buys into every break a chance at that shot.
Like, had you given any sorry, Eddie, I apologize. Sorry. No, had you given any oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You know what I like? He apologized and he cut you off again. That's a ball.
I know, because I can't. I know.
I appreciate that. Good for you. Eddie's used to me running all over him like an idiot. Okay. So.
Have at it, Adam.
No, I was going to say, had you guys given, because I was wondering this too, had you guys given any consideration to putting Brady with the Nationals, because the Nationals were the Expos? Obviously, everyone knows the Nationals were the Expos at one point. And I think that would make the team significantly more valuable than they are right now.
But that's one team that you make significantly more valuable, and you're charging for a needle in a haystack. That's what that is.
Right.
So. Am I going to charge for a needle in a haystack where I'm probably going to skunk the Nationals 9 out of 10 cases? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what their checklist actually looks like. But if you're buying it just for Brady, you're going to get skunked most of the time, I'm assuming.
Right.
It's like a cut auto spot in some of these other products. Like almost always. Yeah. Which is actually funny. I always used to charge for that. Eddie has always done that, like either included or just a free random, which I don't mind either.
No, I mean, it's not going to change the total price that we're collecting one bit. Right.
Like, you know, the only
thing it out amongst 15 teams.
The only thing that changes it for me is if the Brady base is like one every couple cases and it's selling for $100, $200 at that. But then again, too, you're talking. So what, you sell that spot for $100? Like, what does it matter? You know. Yeah. So I like that. So not including them at all. Just that will be its own spot, free random after the break.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody who buys a spot, whether it's a $45 team or a $245 team, you got a spot for it.
That's cool.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think someone I don't know who it was, but they made a good point. It's like chasing those MLB debut patches. I 100% agree.
Yep.
The other thing I was trying to find out, speaking of Brady, was it seemed to me when I read the initial checklist, and I have to trying to go back and dig through this, that it looked like he only had a super auto, which I thought he was supposed to have more than that. And that I wasn't sure about. Yeah, so that changes. I mean, that changes the calculus a little bit. It looked like in the first checklist I saw, it just said Tom Brady like 1 of 1 auto, which, I mean, that's insane. But I was thinking, my thought when I first started he was going to do this was, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was like 2017 or 2018 Bowman. They would do those Ascension autographs. They'd have like, a star player. Like I got lucky out of Mike Trout. It's probably one of the best hits I've ever gotten. But, he had like autos out of 100, like 25, 5, and 1. So I thought there'd be something like even out of 50, 25, 5, and then 1. So there was a little bit more than just that one super you could find at Tom. Because he's just hitting autos of his are so hard as it is. I mean, anything with his name on it's going to be incredible. But I know for me that would incentivize it a lot more to try to get to want to chase that a little bit, if that makes sense.
So all I see on here is it just says his 1995 Tom Brady autograph set checklist.
Okay.
Parallels to be announced, but it just has his name on there.
That's the same thing I saw too. And I think when I looked on Cardboard Connection, all it said was just like the 1 of 1 auto, which I hope there's more. I just don't know. I haven't been able to confirm that.
Yeah, so this doesn't say 1 of 1, just says to be announced. So hopefully, but I think that picture they've been showing too, there's one that looked like just a stock photo, like it would be out of 25 or something. So he does also have just the 1995, just the insert non-auto. So there's that card. But that is it. There's just the 2, which I'm assuming that will have color, like all of those have always had color. Right. But same thing, it says parallels to be announced. But it'll be interesting to see.
If it's anything like these legend Bowman first, the throwback, the retrofractors, then it's not. I mean, we ripped how many cases of Bowman Chrome, Mike, between the two of us?
Yeah, I did 3 or 4, and you did what?
And I did like
25, 30?
Yeah. So did you Did you pull any retrofractors? Nope. I didn't pull any retrofractors. That's 30 cases that we ripped, and none of those. So I don't feel right charging for that spot. It's just something for people watching, like pay attention to what spots people are charging for. It's like when your breaker's charging routinely spots for Panini points, but if you add it up, it's just a bonus spot.
Just go buy the points for 20 bucks.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. So just be cognizant for everybody.
So like top 5 then, Adam, who are like you said there's 2 big names. Max Clark is one of them, right?
Absolutely. The second one is Wyatt Langford. I don't know if you guys have heard anything about him. So the interesting thing about this year's draft too is there's legitimately if there was 2 clear top 2 guys, but any of the guys that went like 3, 4, 5 basically could have been the number 1 pick in any other draft. So like I said, Wyatt Langford drafted out of Texas. He played for Florida for 3 years.
What team, by the way?
Florida. Texas. He got drafted by the Rangers, so he's in a really good spot too. So fifth overall pick ended up in a really great spot for him as well too. And in terms of position, he is right now they're going to try him at center field. He's probably going to move to a corner, but you're talking about a guy, 30-30 guy for sure. Great batting average, solid defender. I mean, he is like I said, by far the best guy in this product. And then follow up by him, I'd add Max Clark to that as my number 2. Again, same type of thing. He's got a bit more risk associated with him because he came out of high school. But he was probably one of the top 2 high school players that was taken 5 overall. Same type of profile right now, though. He's got a bit more speed, if that makes sense. More speed, more line drive power versus like the kind of the home run power. He has a chance. I think the best comp I can think of for him right now would be a guy like PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, with the potential to actually hit for more power. And I think even now PCA, no, not at all. Because I was trying to like think about over the guys the last few years, like who does he remind me of? But I think his ceiling is actually higher than Pete Crow Armstrong's. PCA I think came in with the scouting grade of like a 50 or 55, and Clark was across the board at a 60. So there's a lot of growth there with him. So those 2 guys are far and away the best. Now when you get to like 3, 4, 5, this is where it gets tricky because if there are certain guys in this, I would actually rank them a little bit. I would have ranked them the top 5. But this is going to be more of me personally in the research I've done, I'd say. For me, my number 3 guy in this, and it's going to make our good friend Matt Adams a little bit upset when I say this, but probably Matt Shaw. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He ended up going 13th to the Cubs. He is actually not too far away from where we grew up, Mike. He's a Springfield, Mass kid who ended up in Maryland. And he's just a great.
By the way, hitter. Springfield, Mass, notoriously a dump. Just to be clear,
it is. Yeah.
Basketball Hall of Fame. That city, absolutely garbage. Okay.
And it's funny. Then they have like the MGM casino there. They're trying to make, but you go by and you just get depressed. Like you don't even get depressed when you go inside. You get depressed just looking at it. It's anyway. I guess I don't think MGM. It might have just cost us a sponsorship from MGM Springfield. But anyway,
I don't think that was on the. I think you're safe. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're good. But you don't want to close doors. No. I should wait another episode before I start burning the bridges. But anyway, the next guy for me, like I said, is Matt Shaw, and he's just a great pure hitter. His biggest issue, if I could even call an issue, is what position is he going to play. He's on the not smaller side. For the guys in this room, it's not small. He's about 5'10", 5'11". He came up as a shortstop playing in Maryland, but yeah, I know he's a.
My son standing on my head is not 5'11". Yeah,
the guy's awesome. A monster, right?
Yeah.
So, but not like your prototypical Chewbacca heighted 6'6" like first baseman necessarily, but more along the lines of just a very good athlete. His biggest issue is like where is he going to play defensively? Most likely second. I know that might hurt his value a little bit in the eyes of some, but he's such a good pure hitter that I think he should be okay in that regard. Then after that, it gets kind of interesting because you have a lot of guys that you could kind of jumble up from spots like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, who I think have the potential to be just as good. And they have a lot of the same profile. Like there's about 3 or 4 guys that were drafted, Tommy Troy being one of them. He got drafted by the Diamondbacks, shortstop. Jacob Gonzalez, another shortstop drafted by the White Sox, is another guy who kind of fits that mold too. And then you've got a few high school guys, Colin Houck, who went to the Mets at like 40. He dropped for reasons that I couldn't quite figure out. And then I'm blanking now. Sorry, the guy that Colt Emerson, I think is his name. He's the guy that the Mariners drafted as well too. And those guys, I mean, when it comes to those 3 or 4 players, the question becomes, okay, do you want the guy with the higher ceiling, the higher floor and the lower ceiling, or the higher ceiling and the lower floor? Because a guy like Tommy Troy, he played at Stanford. Ended up, 50 to 55 scouting grade, good pure hitter, but he might not be more than just like a great hitter and like good power and like just a really good everyday shortstop. Whereas some of the guys that taken later, like Houck, have the potential to be more than that, but the bust rate's a lot higher. So overall, like I said, that's kind of where I'm at with some of the guys. And if you ask me tomorrow, like I might put, like right now, maybe Tommy Troy and Jacob Gonzalez are like 4 or 5 or 3, 4, 5. And then, Houck maybe 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, but that could change, tomorrow when I think about it and say, well, geez, maybe the upside matters more. Maybe, the floor is a bit better. So, in that regard, that's kind of where I'm at in terms of with the players.
Let me put you both on the spot. I'm trying to think of 2022 draft. So like Tamar, Zach Neato, oh goodness, Elijah Green was a big one. Who were the top? Like who
Jackson
were the other?
Holiday?
Jackson Holiday was.
Oh, Jackson Holiday was 20. I keep thinking he was 21.
Yeah.
So Jackson Holiday, no one's going to come near his pricing right now in this. I can't even imagine. I almost just take him out. But then the rest of your kind of top 10, like the Neato. Oh, the kid for the Mets, Parada, was a pretty high pick.
Yeah.
So guys, so how does this product stack up to that product? I guess minus Holiday though.
So minus Holiday, here's the thing. If Dylan Cruz had been in this product, which I was really hoping he got 1 overall, he would have been higher than.
Because that's the guy they're going to hold for Bowman. Which
exactly,
that was big.
Yeah. So I remember, I think I texted Eddie before. This is how much of a nerd I am. One of my friends and I went and watched the whole draft at like a Buffalo Wild Wings because we wanted to, and we got to watch on the big screen. So we hijacked the restaurant on Sunday night to watch that. But I was kind of disappointed that Cruz didn't go number 1 because it would have been that would have taken this product from being one of the best ever to probably the best ever in my opinion. But in terms of guys that, absolutely, yeah, because I mean he's far and away was the best player. I mean, multiple time All-Stars his potential, and he's already off to a great start with Washington. But in terms of where these guys line up, I think that it's interesting because I feel like a Max Clark type is going to fall more into that like the Elijah Green, Tamar Johnson type. The other because there's so many good players that strong middle class, I think those prices are going to spread out a bit more. So you're not going to see a guy like where it was clearly the top 4 or 5 guys last year. Obviously Jackson Hall, then you had Tamar, then you had Elijah Green, and you had I know I'm blanking on someone else where there's like 5 or 6 guys that really push it to the top. Because there's a bit of parity, but in a good way, those are going to be spread out a bit more. So of all the guys I mentioned, I think Clark is probably going to be the closest to like an Elijah Green or Tamar. But because there's so many really, really good players that have a really strong chance to succeed, you're not going to necessarily. It's going to be a little bit easier to price and to spread it out a bit more than it was in the last like 3 or 4 years, even. This is a very this is a very unique draft. I mean, this is one of the better drafts like this in baseball period because of what happened with COVID. A lot of these guys might have gotten picked, in the late first, like might have gotten late round picks. There's only 5 rounds that year. So there's plenty of guys who went to college and who might not have gone to college who ended up in this product. And it just made this an incredibly deep draft.
I'm very excited for just to hear about a deep draft, because what it means is that we're not going to see a lot of $400-500 teams in draft. Like charging $500-600 for the Orioles last year was rough. Like that was rough. Like, because you either hit and you make money, or you don't and you get crushed. Like crushed. But at the same time, what I'm hearing now is there's going to be a lot of $100 to $160 teams. There might be a couple of $250, $275 teams, and then there's going to be a lot of like $70 to $90 teams. But there's not going to be a lot of those like $30 teams anymore. You know what I mean? Like, because that's another reason why I want to spread out that Brady chase. Because it makes a $30 team a $35 team or a $40 team. And
that's why that's why I hated 23 Bowman too. Like the first couple weeks, after a couple weeks, it settled out. But it was like, do you remember the Diamondbacks were like $500-600, and then we were praying for somebody else to get crazy, and Caminero came. But then it was like, okay, so two teams are $800 to $1,000. Yeah. That was brutal. Like it has balanced out now. Andrew Jones started to play. Caminero, Justin Crawford came up. You got a bunch of others, but I agree. That's why I've liked 23 class for the rookie class. There's like 8 different teams. Like me and Eddie will tell you this, when we make our PYTs, it's literally, let's just do the top 7 teams. So, Yankees, Orioles, your Mets, your Braves, your Red Sox, all the guys with a big rookie chase. And then it's like, okay, Cardinals. And then it's like, all right, so now I only have to make up $900 in 23 other teams. It makes it way easier. So I am happy to hear that, because that has been, especially last year, like Zach Neato came out of nowhere. So he wasn't even relevant. I mean, he was somewhat relevant, but nowhere near, when the product started. And then even like Tamar dropped so fast after the product. It was like the Pirates were just bleeding money early in breaks. So
and it's surprising to me, because he's one of the few guys that I thought did pretty well last year. When you go back and look at, and this is something that happens too. I think it's the difference between kind of like draft and Bowman, where things that kind of screwed up with people, is that technically you have a sample size when draft comes out. And I think, and it happened last year. I saw a lot of people, and some of these guys, I'll check in and see how people are rating some of the players, but they really sometimes get hung up on like a 40 game sample, like not even like a 35 or 40 game sample size for an 18-year-old kid who just got handed a check for $3.5 million and is starting to play professional baseball. Like, I don't know about you, but I would have lost my freaking mind if someone did that and said, oh, hey, go play professional ball against adults. Like, that's a pretty unsettling thing that takes some adjustment. So I think with draft, like the reason why people, and this is the thing, for some, I feel like, and I don't know if this is people evaluating it and they're basing their decisions as a way to gas up some guys and reduce other guys. But I did see some negative stuff about Tamar being like, oh, well, he only hit 245. I'm like, yeah, it was 30 games and he's like 17. Like you have to have some perspective here. And I think the reason why Bowman is such a tricky thing to price too is because there's so little data available when Bowman comes, and you're so close to the start of the season. And here's a great example of a team that probably was really cheap than to begin Bowman, or cheaper, and probably by the end of it would have been super expensive, as the Red Sox last year, because Roman Anthony exploded.
Yeah. But nobody knew. They were barely top 10 in pricing because no one knew anything about him.
Exactly. And I think I remember when I did my write-up, I said 10 other guys to consider. I said, hey, Roman Anthony, he got a big sign. Like he looks pretty good. Like like the Red Sox like him, but no one expected him to jump like 3.5 levels, like 3 levels basically, and crush it every single level. So,
he's like a top, I think outside of Drew and Caminero. Like he's like the next best. He might even be outselling. I don't know what Drew's market is. He's like a top 3 guy now in that product, I think.
He should be because he performs so well.
I see an interesting question here in the comments. So, Mike, do you think the OTE cards in basketball will be similar to Bowman prospecting in baseball? Before you answer, I'm going to give my answer, because I think I can see how somebody could draw a similarity. But I'm going to say absolutely not, because A, the cards are kind of trashy, and B, they're kind of trashy, and B, there is no basketball prospectors. Like, this is an actual thing that people like blood, sweat, and toil over as a hobby, like a hobby within a hobby. People don't do that for basketball at all, ever. If you don't get straight to the NBA and kept on the team the first year, you're never heard of again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Basketball and football are so different. It's instant gratification with those two sports because there is no like in-league farm system. OTE is cool. Like that one kid, is it Asher Thompson came out of OTE this past year?
Yes.
He's like the third, pretty much consensus top 3 rookie this year, killing it.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to go buy his regular stuff then. That's the thing. The reason Draft and all these other ones do so well is they're not going to be in like rookie logoed stuff for a couple of years. That's my only option. It is a logo licensed product. That's the difference. So I'm with you. I don't think they ever take off. And I haven't seen any brands where I look at them like, I mean, I guess some with basketball, they're doing like Bowman Chrome stuff but I just, I'm not a fan.
And I tend to agree with you. Like, you know, I think the mistake people make is they think that just because it's like with what happened with like college, and I thought it was kind of like, yeah, it's cool. It's a nice idea. But part of the problem is if you don't have the licensing, it looks really tacky. Yeah. And I think I think that's what people are looking, you know, when I look at it, that's what you see. And no one's ever going to look at, as cool as the Victor Wembanyama chase was, a Scoot Henderson chase might have been for Bowman U, no one's ever going to look at that and be like, oh, yeah, that's his rookie card. They're like, oh, yeah, it's kind of a novelty thing. It's a novelty. It's cool. Right. It's like, if you cool in the sense like, oh, it's different, it's unique. But people, and as you said, Eddie, if basketball and football are instant gratification, especially basketball. At 18 years old, 19 years old, you know if this guy's going to be a top pick, and it's sink or swim. You know, the fact that Zach Neato, let's use Zach Neato as a comp. And granted, the Angels just for whatever reason like to do this, but the fact that Neato made it to the big leagues and he did okay is really unheard of. Most guys, especially if they're coming out of high school, are not going to see AAA for at least a solid 3 to 5 years. So, you know, you can't really, you know, unless you're going to start giving these kids like if you want to compare it like prospecting with basketball, unless you're going to start looking at having these kids sign like high school and 8th grade rookie cards, that's about the closest equivalent I can think of. And it doesn't make any sense, and no one's ever going to do it. So
and even like football this year, like they had licensing and logo for all the Bowman stuff. It was cool, and there is a college market to a degree. But I aside from our buddy John Harden, I don't know anybody else who wants a college uniform card. Most guys are like, I like him, but I'd rather just have a pro uniform thing. You know,
that brings up an interesting point, though, Mike. Two things that I've always been staunchly against in my collecting career were college uniform cards and pitcher baseball cards. Those both of those things, to some sort of a degree and to some credit of marketing or whatever it is, have picked up steam. High-end pitcher cards are selling for decent money now. You know what I mean? Like that. It makes me hopeful that even though the number 1 draft pick was a pitcher, you know, and we didn't get the other guy as the top pick, it's still going to be a valuable card.
Who is he, by the way? Where'd he go?
Paul Skeens, Pittsburgh. Looking at Pittsburgh. So looking at it from that perspective, I get why they picked him, because no one's going to, it's hard they have to basically develop their own pitchers. No one's going to sign there. But from like a collecting standpoint, it kind of suck. But you're right. I was going to say, like, in terms of outside of him, you could make an argument that Paul Skeens is the top 5 guy in this product. I mean, like I said, there's just, and everyone's making the comp, the Strasburg comp. I'm like, he's the best pitcher to come out of college in Strasburg, which is fair. I mean, and if he has Strasburg's career, he'll have a pretty good one. But I think now, if you look back at it, I remember the hype that when Strasburg's rookie, that's kind of what kind of lit a bit of a fuse under the card market again.
Yep.
But looking at it now, I mean, exactly. But looking at it now, I mean, I don't think his rookie cards are going to go for $40,000 anymore. And that's
no. And he's also the reason. He's also the reason, by the way, that people now have so much fear of pitchers.
Exactly.
Like Strasburg is single-handedly responsible for that. Yeah.
So it's like one of my favorite Simpsons lines. Homer says, "Alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems." That's kind of what he did to pitchers.
That's Strasburg. Hey, this is kind of an interesting question too. Historically, K-Sits and Bowman carry minimal value, with Fanatics putting more effort into SB inserts. Do we think they gain value / chase appeal, or is it just autos or bust still? It's never going to be like other products. Like, we've seen other products now. Finest release those Finest diamonds, which sell through the roof. Chrome has had like the Let's Go and some other ones that will outsell most of the actual hits. To me, Bowman Chrome, Bowman Draft, and insert will never outsell just the pure, because that is still one of, to me, the most elitist type thinking group of guys. Like, you still don't even have real color. Like, there are some cards, for example, an orange wave numbered to 25 will get outsold by a true gold. Because but a gold is a true color. It was an original color. I don't care. One's numbered to 25. I'd rather have that.
The one thing that I'll say about that, because I am one of those color purists, is with the expanding market, I'm going to call it, of Bowman collectors, there's a lot of guys that are really into baseball that are just learning about this now, because they've only been in the hobby for 8 months and they haven't gone through this. Once they get a hold of something like this, I do think that again, we've, in the last 18 months, we've seen the waves increase in price.
That's true. Because like your point, like a new guy's just like 25 is less than 50. Exactly. I don't care.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Even Topps Chrome update, by the way, you notice this year, I know, again, it's never going to be Topps Chrome, and it never should be, but it's amazing to me the amount of guys who are like, I don't care that it has a date on the bottom. It says Corbin Carroll, RC. Like, they were happy. I do like that. Like, I'm glad to see some of the tradition. It's almost like the one that's has never made sense to me. My true RPA out of NT is numbered to 99. It sells for 10 grand, but the midnight number to 25 only sells for 8,500 because it's not true.
Yeah.
What? Like, I don't. So I do think you're right, Eddie. New guys don't know tradition, just don't care, which I like.
And not all new guys. There's a good consortium of people that have globbed onto the purist philosophy because they recognize that's what they like. It's what's changing in the hobby the most right now is people are collecting what they like.
Yeah.
And not what other people like for the most part. And I'm not saying that an orange wave is ever going to outsell or be equal to a true orange in the hobby, but it may not be 50%.
Right.
It may be 65% now.
Which is perfect.
Yeah. Which is where it needs to be. Like, I agree with you. I didn't really, when I was a newbie to all this, like, I don't know however long ago, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, before I got really serious about it again, like, I was like, wait a minute, why is this orange wave that I'm selling? Why is people like, oh, like, being, as you said, snobby about it? And I think that is, I'm hoping that we get a little less of that, because I think it makes it less fun in some ways. But at the same time, I think I kind of started to adopt that mentality a bit too. So I'm just like, well, wait a minute, like, I can't be as excited about this card if it's not going to hold its value. And now I'm hoping that there's a shift that we're seeing, as you guys said, where there are people who are just like to me, I know someone just wrote like, oh, the lavas. I think the lavas look awesome. Like, I've ever got a red lava of especially a Red Sox player. That looks really cool to me. So that wouldn't bother me as much. Or the Ray Waves, the Ray Wave autos that came out in 2021 draft, I thought looked fantastic. So, as you said, I'm glad it's becoming a bit more, Eddie, or there's a shift where it's a bit more of like, what do you like? What's your preference? Yeah. Because that also because it's more fun for people too.
So there's two levels to that though, in my mind, right? There's the level of great, it's going to increase in price a little bit because people are collecting what they like. And B, like, there is no reason for anybody to panic or worry about what other people are collecting. Because frankly, if I'm going to invest my money, so say I'm going to buy a single, I'm looking for a true color. But that doesn't mean I'm any less excited pulling an orange wave of somebody.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Does that make sense? Like, I'm still excited for that. But if I'm going to invest in a singles market, I'm going to go after what has a track record. It's why people grade high-end cards with PSA. It has a track record.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that makes the most sense to me as well, too.
Yeah. But also, to answer the second part of that question, yes and no, because with the HTA SKU in draft this year, I'm really looking forward to seeing if that's an all auto product, because that could be a lot of fun. And to mix that with another comment from, I think it was Mike Cianfrone asking for more multi-case breaks. With the HTA being so much cheaper, we will be able to combo that and do a couple of dual case and triple case breaks. So
yeah, we didn't even talk about that on the live. So Eddie's talking about, so Jumbo and Super Jumbo have always been the two SKUs. This year we've been told there's an HTA that's going to be significantly cheaper. We're assuming it's going to be, I wonder if it's going to be more like a Breaker's Delight type, where there's maybe 2 autos and then some color, but like 8 or 10 cards total, or if it'll just be 3 to 5 just straight. It can't be 5 autos. Like, if it's going to be that much cheaper, I wonder if it'll just be a 3 auto. But yeah, this is the first year they've kind of quietly told us that, hey, there's going to be an HTA SKU as well. So yeah, as that comes out, as we get detail, we'll obviously share that. So
at that price point too, Mike, if it is significant, obviously our cost is significantly cheaper, so it's going to be significantly cheaper, right? So, period, end of story. At that cost, it's a great addition to do a dual case break with, because now you can do a hobby case with so many autos, and you're adding 36 autos for no real cost. You know what I mean? Like that, I like it a lot.
So we got 3 weeks until draft comes out. Obviously, like what Eddie was saying is, hey, there's a couple good products in between. This museum Inception is slated for the first week of December. We'll see if that still happens. Obviously, we still got some Topps Chrome updates and Breakers Delight cases of that. So there's still breaks going. But obviously, I think guys have noticed. We talked about it off air even. Like, there's kind of a slowing because guys save up for draft. So I wouldn't take this next month of the breaking world to think, hey, things are really slow. Things are slower this year anyways. But the next couple of weeks, I think people just slow down because they save up for draft. So we'll definitely do more draft talk too as it comes out. We'll kind of get some pricing and some preview in front of you guys, in front of the group. So make sure you check out the Facebook group, SCN Breaks. That's where Eddie breaks all the time. I think in the next week or so, we're finally going to have some paperwork worked out and an announcement of where SCN Breaks is going to be live streaming from as well, like our second location. So we'll work that in as well. So there you go, Adam. Appreciate the knowledge, man. Thanks for coming in and talking over Eddie and then apologizing and talking over him again. That's a baller move.
I'm a polite guy. Sorry, I'm going to go on anyway.
Then you ruined our chances with MGM. So thanks for all that.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's probably to our benefit. It's like being associated with like a company that like sells toxic waste. I think we're okay there.
There you go. Good deal. All right, fellas, catch you in the group this week. Thank you for listening. See ya.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.